Welcome in the latest episode of the What I Bet podcast on the Straight Out of Vegas AM feed, courtesy of the pregame.com podcast network. I'm your host, Real_G Warner. You can find me across all social media platforms at the Real_G Warner. Tonight's episode, we're going to go through the German Bundesliga Relegation second leg of their playoff. So we get some matinee action. An NHL single standalone game in the Eastern Conference Finals, a large Major League Baseball card for Memorial Day, and of course, get you a way to save some money at pregame.com, plus a What I Bet best bet coming end of show. We lost our last pick. That was, I think, Friday of last week. It's now Monday. Chicago Cubs couldn't get it done in Wrigley, but we're going to find another best bet winner, hopefully, on tonight's episode. We'll start in Germany, in Deutschland, where the first leg, VfL Wolfsburg, they were finished 16th out of 18 teams. They're one of the bigger clubs in Germany, have a lot of money, have been in that competition for a long time, but ended up finishing third to bottom, and they have to find a way to get through a two-legged tie where each goal matters the same amount, home and away. And their first leg at home, at the home stadium of the Bundesliga side, was goalless. So not really a great setup for the team that should be showing its might, showing its value, showing how much higher their squad is worth versus Paderborn, a lowly third place finisher, third from the top. So top two teams get automatic berths in the next season of the German Bundesliga. Paderborn finished third, and they now get the two-legged tie and have to beat the Bundesliga side to essentially take their spot. VfL Wolfsburg looked dead a few weeks ago, but found a way to get into this playoff, which was almost salvation, or feeling like it was. The problem is that they've done nothing to guarantee themselves anything. And not winning at home in the home leg, now they got to go on the road to a really small stadium in Paderborn, who've been up and down in the Bundesliga a couple times, I think, since I've been really following them, at least once. And it's a really tough setup for a team that really missed an opportunity. Now, the broadcast, Derek Ray, who's been the voice of FIFA for years and years and years, or whatever the soccer game, now ESPN FC, I think they call it, or whatever, EA Sports FC, my bad. His partner, Moritz Wolf, I believe, who I think coaches for TSG Hoffenheim, who are a Champions League contender this season in the Bundesliga, which is crazy that you have a current coach who does broadcast. But he was saying that VfL Wolfsburg feel fine with a goalless draw. Paderborn certainly would have taken a goalless draw on the road, being the underdog. But I don't really think that Wolfsburg are in any position to want that. And this is a big step for them because they got to go win on the road, or at least advance in extra time, or in a potential shootout. Late night with the Real and Scourgy Warners, of course, the odds are here. If you've been with us on any podcast that I do, you know that comes. But I don't like Wolfsburg setup at all. They were, I thought, very fortunate based on really bad teams in Bundesliga to stay up. Probably should have been relegated, only scored 29, or only won 29 points this season. And a big deal was that, I mean, all they needed was a draw on the final day, it turned out. But got to win on the road against a team that literally cannot score goals. They still conceded one. But this is a big stay in the league or risk not getting back for a long time, because if you go down, that's a big deal. And honestly, that is a pressure point, and I think that's a bothersome thing for a Bundesliga side that finished 16 out of 18 teams. Paderborn are currently a half a goal underdog at home with all the juice right now, minus 121 at Bet Online. I saw plus one quarter, plus 104 earlier in the day. So clearly some money is coming on Wolfsburg, and there is a bit of a trend where the Bundesliga side does really poorly in their first leg at home tie, and then go on the road and end up finding a way to stay in the league. Usually the Bundesliga team survives, but this is requiring a win in regulation, no extra time, no penalty shootout, nothing, on the road for like a really bad team that struggled all season. And Wolfsburg has the money. They've got big name players, Christian Eriksen. If you remember, the guy that collapsed in the middle of a Euro game when everyone was watching it on TV, like right after COVID. Played for Manchester United of the Danish national team. Although I don't think they made the World Cup, so maybe not that big of a deal. But Wolfsburg's got big names all over their team, but they played really poorly year after year after year after spending a lot of money, which tells me that they just don't know what they're doing. They just splash a lot of the Volkswagen car dealers or car companies cash because they're located in Wolfsburg. But Paderborn look interesting. Total in this one's 2.5, juiced minus 113 to the under, minus 107 to over. And initially there was more juice in the over, but some money's been coming in on seeing this another low scoring tie. And 1-1 wins that bet. 2-0 either way wins that bet. So I'm very interested under 2.5. I think we see another low scoring game. And I do think VfL Wolfsburg are in big, big trouble. And this is a 3:30 Central Time, excuse me, 1:30 Central Time, 2:30 Eastern Time kick on Monday, Memorial Day in the United States. Well, next to a standalone NHL game, yeah, it's later than a lot of these baseball games, but that's by itself. So I'll go through it and go with that one. We'll start because it's the only game. The Carolina Hurricanes are visiting the Montreal Canadiens after what was, to me, a Montreal could have been victory, certainly going to overtime. My underdogs don't do very well in overtime, unfortunately. I think I'm 1-5 on road teams, so go figure. But Carolina are a favorite here. We've seen the number increase a little bit since I've been watching it. Plus 114 up to plus 119 on the home Montreal Canadiens. Total is 5.5. It's been hanging at minus 127 to over. So I'm hanging out waiting for a six to pop. Love the push on that number, and it's probably that way throughout the marketplace. Bet online just currently hanging a pretty juiced number to try to make sure they guarantee they don't have any pushes out there. But Montreal have been great at home, biggest arena in all of the NHL, and they played really well there. Bell Center has been great. Montreal, I think, they were undefeated against Carolina this regular season. I think won all three matchups, won game one, and then took game two to overtime. So they've not lost in regulation in now 5 games against Carolina. I don't know why that changes here because Carolina, I mean, you could argue they're a little bit smarter and certainly had another game under their belt after 11 days off and they looked really slow. But honestly, I think it was their strategy and it hasn't worked against Montreal at all this season for any regulation wins. So I'm interested in Montreal as an underdog at home, of course. Also lean under, see a low scoring game. No real difference than how I felt a lot about this conference finals round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we'll now go to the Major League Baseball portion of the show. Then we'll get a promo code to save you some money at pregame.com. And then, of course, what I bet best bet coming out of the show. We'll go to the Chicago Cubs and Ben Brown, minus 117 favorite at Pittsburgh, plus 106 with Carmen Mlodzinski. Total in this one is 8 and is just slightly more to over, 2 cents more. Ben Brown's been really good since getting elevated to the rotation after serving as the eighth inning guy, then the closer when Danny Palencia got hurt. I like Chicago better. Pittsburgh's been hitting the ball well, but their bullpen is still, I think, years away at this point until they trade for something at the deadline if things are going well. They've drifted to last in their division. They come back from Pittsburgh or to Pittsburgh from Toronto, so that helps. They played the early game on Peacock. That also benefits them. But I like what I've seen from Chicago so far. Defensively, they were incredible last season. Alex Bregman's going to be a huge boon to them at some point when the weather gets warmer. So I think I'll leave Mlodzinski alone. I just don't know that I can trust him. He seems to do the opposite of what I'm expecting every time I get involved. So move on to the next game. That's the Tampa Bay Rays and Shane McClanahan on the road at Baltimore with Kyle Bradish. Currently McClanahan a minus 130 favorite, plus 118 coming back on the O's. We've seen some money coming in on the O's, probably because the Rays had a big series in New York and the Bronx. Big statement series, try to expand their lead against the Yankees. The Orioles on the other side, huh, I don't really even know what to say about the Orioles. I mean, they seem to have brought up these really talented young players who have just completely stalled. Like sophomore slump was one thing, but now it's a junior slump again. I just am not a believer. Kyle Bradish was great to finish last season, but really hasn't gotten off to a great start this year. It was better his last start. We'll see if that continues. I'm frankly not betting it's a raise at any point. I don't even know if I want to bet unders. Yes, there were some low scoring games in the Bronx. There's bad weather, all that sort of stuff. But McClanahan should bounce back from a pretty bad start his last time out, but also it's because he had a gigantic lead and was just pitching to contact to try to get out of there. Next, go to St. Louis and Matthew Liberatore visiting the Milwaukee Brewers and Jacob Misiorowski, who's been super hot lately. He gets a pretty limited lineup. St. Louis Cardinals are rebuilding. Liberatore, who was supposed to start, I think, on Friday, rain pushed him back. Then they didn't start him Saturday, and then Sunday. It was bizarre. Maybe it was just trying to get some extra rest to their ace, who really is not that great. Very limited, sensitive to home runs. I'm looking for Milwaukee here with a gigantic minus 208 $2 favorite, not for me. Total this one's 7.5, and it's just more to the over. Don't know that I have a feel there because Milwaukee can score, and I don't want to be against them with a weak team like St. Louis. Next, we go to the Minnesota Twins and Zebby Matthews on the road at the Chicago White Sox. Matthews is surprising minus 112 favorite. Total in this one is 8.5, just very heavily to under. Anthony Kay has looked pretty bad, is very mediocre. The White Sox have been really impressive, better than the Twins. Record's good. Coming in from San Francisco to play at 1:10 Central Time, which I think is local time start. That's brutal. Minnesota coming back from Boston, though, isn't exactly a cup of tea. Um, with that said, the White Sox is a home underdog. Interesting for me. Next to the New York Yankees, Will Warren at the Kansas City Royals and Michael Wacha. Currently, Wacha plus 136, home underdog, minus 150 on the Yankees. Total is 9, juice minus 110 both ways. The Yankees just need to stop playing Tampa. Though Kansas City was playing very well at home, had one, I guess, snag on Friday night when they pitched really well. But Kansas City's been surviving after a really poor run. Is it because the Mariners are really bad and are not treated as such? I don't know. Will Warren's been really sharp to start the season. I think Walker can hang around though. It's a big number. Lean to under 9. Not really a park for Yankees home runs because Kansas City doesn't allow those. Next, we go to the Cincinnati Reds, Nick Lodolo at the New York Mets, Nolan McLean. McLean minus 152 at home. And it should be because Nick Lodolo has been horrible. Got a late start to the season to a blister. He always gets those, and he's been very wild, and I'm not a believer. Was decent against Philadelphia in his last start, but felt really lucky, even though it was on the road. Now we'll go to Arizona, Merrill Kelly at San Francisco, and Landon Roop. Currently, Kelly plus 127, road underdog, minus 140 on San Francisco. Total 7.5, just a little bit more to under. Great park in San Francisco to not see runs, but Arizona, Merrill Kelly, I guess, sort of survived with his uh, last start against the same San Francisco team. I don't understand why he's this big of an underdog. So give me Arizona plus 127. Lean to under, but I think the side is really the most I want there. I want to be against San Francisco as a favorite every time they play. Washington Nationals start Zach Littell and his pitch to contact home run vulnerable ways at Cleveland and Tanner Bybee. Bybee minus 165, so plus 149 coming back on Washington. Total is 8, which is minus 110 both ways. I don't really love that setup. Too big of a number for me on Cleveland, but I'm not a believer in Washington. We'll see if they keep up their hitting. Philadelphia then visits San Diego. Jesus Luzardo minus 120 favorite on the road at Randy Vasquez. Total 7.5, just more to the under. Philadelphia's been playing a lot better under Don Mattingly. I don't think he really changed much, but what happens when you are a victim of circumstance. The Rob Thompson took the job from that sort of thing when Joe Girardi got canned, when Philly got off to a bad start, whatever. Luzardo is pretty inconsistent, especially as a road favorite, but I don't trust Randy Vasquez at all. This is basically, if you are betting Padres here, you are backing their home crowd, which isn't really as dominant in wins and losses, but it is good for the environment or making it a hard place to play. But you're really betting the Padres bullpen to beat the Phillies. They can certainly do that as a home underdog. I don't blame you. I don't know. There's enough for me there. Next, go to Houston, visiting Texas, as I might go to this game. Imai starting for the Astros, Kumar Rocker for the Rangers. Rangers minus 125 coming off a late Sunday night baseball game, which can be a little bit difficult, and it's in Los Angeles. But they're minus 125 favorite at home, plus 113 on Houston. Total's 8.5, minus 113 juiced there. I don't trust Imai. I don't trust Rocker. That's a great park for unders, though. Can we get a 9? Probably not going to play it, but I'm interested. Move next to Miami, visiting Toronto, two very international cities, if you will. The Jansen Junk pitching for the Marlins, plus 149 underdog. Trey Savage, minus 165 after his incredible rookie season that got them to the Stanley Cup Finals. Total is set. Stanley Cup Finals, wow, hockey in the brain. To the World Series. Total is 7.5, juice minus 110 both ways. I'd like to look more toward Jansen Junk in Miami, but he's been struggling lately. I don't think there's much for me there. And we got two more games left to go. The Colorado Rockies and Tanner Gordon, I believe that's the T. He's visiting the Los Angeles Dodgers, Emmett Sheehan. And we found I think it's my first $300 or my first $3 favorite of the season. Minus 300 on the Dodgers, plus 265 on the Rockies, plus 125 on the run line. If they lose by a single run, which could certainly happen with a home team that could walk it off, though they sometimes hit home runs to do that, or just not bat the ninth inning. Total is 9 in this one, just very heavily to under. If anything, I like over in this matchup, just not really expecting that Colorado will do much. on the pitching side of things that the